Hello there! Have you always wanted to paint dogs, but not quite fully realistically? If so, you've come to the right place, so stay tuned for a fun abstract dog project. In order for me to get a good reference for painting abstract animals, I like to open my original photo in Photoshop, and you can see I have that here. And I will use this selection tool to select a rectangle of the area that I want to include in my painting. So we will say that for now. And then I'm going to copy it, Control C on my keyboard. I'm going to do Control N for a new canvas based off of the clipboard and click Create. Control V will paste my selection here, and then I'm just using Control Plus to zoom in. Zoom out a little bit, Control Minus. And in order for this to be a good reference, it needs to be the more abstract-y style that I want, and I want to see colors differentiated very clearly. So I'm going to go up to this filter menu. I'm choosing the filter gallery. And you can tell because I've used it before, it's already on cutout right here. So let me zoom in on this. And now you just have to play with the number of levels. So if I do less levels, it is even more simplified. And by going up in that number, or on that slider, you get a little bit more color variation. So play with the number of levels. Your edge simplicity, if you want to do a really abstract dog, that one could be interesting. I like about here. Edge fidelity just changes those edges just a little bit more. So you just have to play with these sliders and find what you like. Once you're happy with this, you're going to click OK. And there is your reference. And you can either print this out and trace these shapes onto your paper, or you can just use it as is from your computer screen. You can see in this next clip here that I printed mine out. This is the other dog I did in this series, and used the graphite paper to trace it onto my gesso board and a red pen so that I could see which lines I had already gone over. This was great because it gave me my basic shapes, and all I had to worry about was the color. And for some reason on these recordings, I didn't get any of the backgrounds recorded, so I used varying greens and just did them in a blurred style. So basically as if the animal were in a tree field or a field of grass or something like that, and you can see no detail in the background. And for these paintings, I used Liquitex Basics, and they're very transparent paints if you know anything about them. So on a couple of the places here where the green is going over the top of this dog's name is Obi, by the way, then sometimes I had to go back. You can see there I have white underneath because you'll need to have that be fully covered, fully opaque in some places, because that green will show through. Liquitex Basics, like I said, it's a very transparent acrylic paint. And in one of the subscription boxes I opened, I'll link that somewhere up above, I did have a new acrylic paint to try, the Pabeo Matte, and I really liked that. It might do a lot better with the way I like to paint. It seemed way more opaque than the Liquitex Basics, and that's why people choose Liquitex Basics though, is because it is thin and transparent, so you can do a lot of glazing with it. So that, you know, it's just a style thing, basically. You choose the paint that works for the style that you want. So basically in this one, I'm just choosing enough lights, mediums, and darks to get all of the shapes for this dog. And I'm using a Stay Wet palette for my acrylic paint, and it stayed wet, just like its name, for weeks and weeks. And in this next shot here, you can see that Stay Wet palette. It has some discoloration on the paper that they use that stays wet, and that's what a lot of people complain about, is that they think that's mold, and I don't believe it is. I never had any issues with it. It's just discoloration. So if you're using a Stay Wet palette and you see that, don't immediately assume that it's mold and throw it away, because I don't think that is. I think it's just discoloration in the way the paper is made. So here I'm putting on the last few touches of color. This is the very exciting part because it means that we are almost at the end. We just have to do a few final touches on his nose and mouth, and then put highlights in the shiny parts, so the eyes and the nose still again. So it's coming to a close here for Mr. Obi. There's the final touches. Very fun. Didn't like the eye, so it got redone. That happens with painting, right? Good thing acrylics can just go over and over and over. It's really useful. Anyone like acrylics for that? Let me know in the comments below. And here is the final finished one. And there's a bit of a glare on this picture, but I don't have the picture to get a better one. So here is the next dog. This is Willie. He's just a goofy, silly dog. And these are all speeded up by 5,000% actually. So there were hours and hours and hours of footage. So don't think that you're going to do this really quickly, at least not the way I did it, using small flats and rounds. Maybe if you did a way more stylized version and just did kind of big swipes using maybe a 1-inch flat brush, you could get this done in a little bit less time than I did. But for me, I was trying to get the coloration just right because I wanted the dogs to be fully recognizable even though they were abstract. So I was pretty careful about where I put the colors, and then again, because Liquitex Basics is so transparent, I had to do layer after layer after layer over and over again to get the color saturation that I really wanted. So I probably should have chosen a different paint, but it's what I started with. I wanted them both to be the same, and so that's what I finished with. So I have some ideas of what to use those Liquitex Basics paints for, but as far as regular painting like this, probably, like I said before, we'll choose something slightly different. So we're going to be experimenting with some different acrylic paints here in the future. So make sure you like the channel and subscribe to it so you don't miss any of my experimentation. We also do a lot of other fun projects here, so subscribe if you'd like to see more. All right, so this dog just, working hard on getting him finished up. Again, every clip here except the last one I think is sped up by 5,000%. So you can see it was a slow, intricate process. Looks like I missed some of the footage here. I just didn't get it all recorded, but here is both dogs complete, and this was given to my best friend for a birthday present, and I hope she liked them. It seemed like she did. And yeah, you can definitely tell who the dogs are. I showed them to everyone. Everyone knew, so I would call that somewhat of a success. Thanks for joining me today. Remember to subscribe again, and I'm really glad you joined me.